Thank you for watching News Echoes. My name is Shegun Johnson. I'm glad you are here today. We got to discuss all the issues that have gone past in the last 1 week. And we have, for the first time, a renowned political commentator, an activist, and definitely a builder in the Canadian politics. And of course, beyond Canada. I'm talking of our man, Mr. Jochuku, all the way from Canada. You are welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much, Shagun. What a pleasure to join you in this wonderful episode this morning.
Yes, sir. What city are you in Canada?
Actually, I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Okay. We'll be
Yes.
hearing more from you later in the day. We are so happy to have you, and especially because of the time in Toronto. What's the time in Toronto right now?
5:02 in the morning.
Wow, we appreciate your giving up your sleep for the betterment of the rest of the world. In faraway Milan, we have Mark Godwin. Mark, you are welcome to the program.
Good morning, Dr. Shagun. Wow. Good morning, Sir George Chuku. It's good
Yes,
to
it's such
have
a
you with
pleasure.
us today, sir.
My
Good
pleasure.
to have
My
you.
pleasure. Yes.
And
Yeah, I mean, you need to know that other colleagues will be joining when we have a break. But in the meantime, the Queen has passed on, and that may not be the news, but the news is the precision and the flawlessness of the execution of the passage rights, the British culture, the perfection with which they executed all the plans for years. Many people saw what happened, but it didn't get its plan only yesterday. They have planned this for years. They have practiced it for years, and it was flawlessly executed. Let me ask you, sir, Sir George in Toronto, how did you see it? How did the Canadians see this passing on, especially because of the uh, headship of Canada, the Queen?
Well, it was a fantastic cultural and traditional display around the world. I woke up every morning and I take a look at the television to watch what was going on. One of the things that came out of my mouth one morning was like, "Wow, this is by intimidating us with the culture from Britain," because the precision by which everything went through, and you would think that I'm like, okay, how long did they practice this? Was this something that has been done for many years? Because it's amazing, it's incredible. It was a
Yeah.
sight to behold.
For many years they have practiced it. I mean, it wasn't just last year. They have written it. In fact, she had told them what flour to use, how to use it. Let me seize the opportunity to welcome our man from Abuja, Dr. Osita Aniemeka. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, from Milan, how did you capture the execution of the burial rites of Queen Elizabeth II?
oh, Doc, that was some beautiful sight to behold. Europeans, Western Europe, were seated, glued to their TV,
Mm.
watching, both with sadness that the Queen has gone, but with some delight at the event that looked like a carnival. A real cultural.
Mm.
So the Queen has been laid to rest, and following some private burial ceremony at the George Chapel, like we observed. She was buried alongside her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, and her father also, her mother, and I think her sister. Yes,
Mm.
like you said earlier, the Queen requested for some of what we saw. Even the Scottish piper that
Mm.
played was part of her request, the kind of music that should be played. Her crown jewel was removed from the top of the coffin, and during the service of song, and I followed with a lot of beautiful, colorful ceremony. Now we took note of something, and that's
Yeah,
the precision in that event. So that made
yeah.
us Europe to look more. Here in Schengen media, we now went to know who was behind this whole event. Now we found out the L. There's a man that has been plan that had that plan for like 20 years now. I don't know if you know
Wow.
about. Yes, and L, one of the titled
Members of the family, yeah.
family. Yeah, L, I think it's L Winston or something. And they said he had to go through that process with everybody, the soldiers, the naval, the guards, and everybody, and they went through it for since the past 20 years. So
Wow.
it's nice to see
Well,
that human being
they,
could
they
be.
did not they did not disappoint anybody at all, because even
Yes,
for
sir.
those who queued, they were given wristbands with number. So if you should leave your spot and go back to, I mean, go to a toilet or something, you return with your wristband to a particular place. But before we go further, let me ask Osita in Abuja, how did Nigerians copy the death and burial of Queen Elizabeth?
It was fun, real fun, because you won't believe this. A church in Nigeria had a procession for the Queen.
Oh my
We're still trying to
word.
find out what church it is. We're still trying to find out what church it is, yes. But I think it's Anglican because of Church of England. But yes, but the fact is that it was so much fun here. We have not seen this kind of event in the last 70 years.
That's correct.
So you can
That's very
imagine what
correct.
that means to us. Yes, yes. And every major television in the world was showcasing it. So it was so much fanfare everywhere. And we had some questions here and there. Who was this woman? Most people now understand what Commonwealth means. Most people have
They
asked the
reckon
real questions about Commonwealth, and it's been explained.
they reckon 4 billion people watch it worldwide. There are 7 billion or
Yes,
8 billion people in this world, but 4 billion people watch it on telly. I
even
think that's the
more.
greatest.
I think it hit up to 5 at some point, because many other countries joined from from Asia, and it was elaborate. It was elaborate. Nigeria had fun too.
Yeah. Okay, but I have a question for you. Why did President Buhari not come to the place?
He sent the vice president.
Yeah, it wasn't an occasion to send a vice if it was okay.
This was the joke that had that the man said he didn't know the woman was still alive. Remember?
But you see, the point is there were about 100 presidents, and given the relationship between Nigeria and the United Kingdom, one expected that the Nigerian president will be there. I will forgive him if it's because of the religion, because everything was church, church, church. But I don't know what
No, but
motivated.
there were so many Muslim leaders there too. I mean, it's not a church thing. It was a global
Aha.
event. It was a
So
global event.
let me ask Mr. George. Mr. George Chukwu, why do you think the Nigerian president did not go in person?
Well, I believe that it's about priority, and possibly he might have felt intimidated by the caliber of people that were there. But I wouldn't say that, because actually he attends a lot of the meetings, like the G7 and G whatever. He's all over
Yes.
there. So maybe it might be a private reason. Maybe his health situation is still there. We don't know.
Maybe because it will have been an occasion for networking among presidents to press on certain issues of investment, which others did. So I mean, is well, like you said, maybe private reasons, probably health. But Mr. Chuko, one more question for you.
Yes.
We understand that number 45, that is President Trump, said that if he was the president that attended, they would not put him in the 14th row with other third world leaders. He would have been in front of all the diplomatic presence, but they put President Biden in the middle of the other presidents that did not regard America. How will you react to that?
Well, this is United Kingdom burying the Queen. Number one, Canada is part of the countries that she's the head state of. One thing you have to understand about Mr. Trump is Mr. Trump trumps his ego. And that's something that everybody needs to understand. The question is, would they have invited him if he was still the president? Because I don't think that they would have invited the man. Because, and so for him to say what he said, Mr. Trump, the world knows this for sure. There are two things that we know him about. He's a liar, number one. Number two, he's full of ego. So he's full of himself. So what else would you expect from a 70-year-old man that thinks like a little boy? In
Yeah,
my
it was
case here.
really it was pulling down and putting down Biden's position in that place. But talking about invitation, Mark in Milan, the Russian president was not invited, and the Ministry of External Affairs of Foreign Affairs in Russia called it moral evil. How do you think they missed him? Was his presence missed at that place?
Well, one thing we know in Africa is situations, events like this doesn't animosities and hatred, all kinds of bickering among people flats out. It dies down.
Mm,
Death brings everybody together. That's how we were told. That's how we grew in our culture in Africa. So a moment like this, everybody should just be there if you're invited or if you feel obliged to be there. So I think,
mm.
I mean, it's death. Even biblically, Dr. Shagi, you know, the Bible says it's good to go to a house of mourning than to a house of
Yeah.
merriment. So death should bring people together, and maybe sometime that could be a platform for truce and settlements and coming back to resolving issues that have been on. So, and not a
Oh,
time to,
you think it could have helped with the Russian-Ukrainian war?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, they could have stretched out a hand to the Prime Minister Putin and the Prime Minister of Ukraine, and probably had that could have been an opportunity to settle all these unnecessary conflicts that is just plunging the world into more
Well,
disaster and everything.
that is one way. That's one way to look at it. But let me ask the proprietor of Diplomacy University in Africa, Dr. Anyemeka, um, do you think this will affect the Commonwealth? Many people are speculating that some people may leave Commonwealth. Some people are speculating many of the Afro-Caribbean countries with the head of state, with the Queen as head of state, will say we are leaving. We don't want the king to be the head of state, which I believe will happen. But then, to what extent do you think the Commonwealth will be shaking on this matter?
Completely shaken, yes, because it started already. It started already. Like I said, the king will leave the UK without knowing the kind of reception he will receive in the Commonwealth countries. He will not know. It is when he arrives there that he will see what will happen because I think it took too long. People are tired. You know, democracy is going around. People want to be able to see how the sovereignties of every nation will pan out because that is what we are looking for. We're looking for independence, the real independence. Let's not joke about it. Decisions that are supposed to be made by countries are supposed to be made by the heads of the countries wherever they are. So everybody wants to blossom where they are planted, and the influence and interruptions of the Commonwealth would not help them anymore. Let me give you two examples. If, for
Okay.
instance, if for instance we have an African nation that is dependent on the UK, on the crown to survive, it will be a different story. None is anymore. We're all angry. We're all angry that the kind of relationship that we had with them was pillaging, taken away from us and not given. And this is the time that the story is coming out right. Because somebody just said, so this crown was made from gold, exhumed from the belly of the continent. And it's the richest gold in the world. People are starving, dying. Yes, people are starving, dying, creating more problems for themselves because of poverty. And the woman that we are mourning has all African wealth around her. The gold, the cat that she uses is the richest cat in the world because it's all gold, all dug from the bellies of Africa. So what are we saying? People are tired, and King Charles III is not like his late mother. People are also saying that no, it wasn't her fault. It was what she inherited, but she could have created change because she saw what was going on in the rest of the world. South Africa, for instance, will not want Queen Elizabeth, and I don't think King Charles, can go there because the people will take him apart. There are some other African countries that will not.
But
So
Ramaphosa was here. He came.
and that's true, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about South Africans, not just the man who is figurehead there trying to create a relationship that will never exist. South Africans are not
Okay.
they're not happy. Yeah.
I believe that George may have a contrary opinion because I don't think Commonwealth will die like that. There are three main countries, developed countries within Commonwealth: Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. I know they've
Australia
been
is going
talking
already,
about.
sir.
Yes,
Australia is
okay.
going
Let,
already.
let me let me leave it to let me leave it to George. George, what? Tell us, please, Canada. What will happen, or likely to happen?
Well, there are certain countries that it will be very difficult for them to leave the Commonwealth, and Canada is one of them. The being that the Queen has been very, most of the things that I've done here,
You may need to speak out louder.
Yeah. Yes, please. Or increase your volume, your device volume.
Okay, it's low now.
Yeah, let's give
He's
him a few
using
seconds
a handheld device.
because his contribution is important coming from Canada.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
yes.
And it's close to Trudeau. I've seen some pictures where you are taking pictures with the top man. So your contribution is important.
I think it's the network or something.
The network.
He's
Yes.
using a handheld device.
Oh, okay. So you were saying Dr. Anyemeka.
Yeah, yes. The point is not, it's going to be gradual. Commonwealth cannot stay forever. There's going to be history about it. Yeah, it cannot stay forever. So if there are still some countries there now, fine. But the issue is that gradually, the countries under Commonwealth there might be some that will stay there forever. I don't know, but it won't be like what it was before the Queen died and what it is now.
Mark, do you agree with him?
To some extent, Dr. Shagun, yes. I think there might be some withdrawal. Some countries will not see the essence of being together again. Take note that the idea of the Commonwealth is still likened to the colonization. So it was just colonizing the people, the countries again in a different way, holding them down. Yes, in a different way. So it's still that same mentality of holding people down. And like you said, Dr. Shagun, a lot of people want to be free. Humanity is tending towards being free. I mean, do what I want to do and not what I'm compelled to do. So
yeah, somebody once said the only thing about the Commonwealth is that the wealth is not common. And,
yeah, it's not common.
now we have George. We have George back.
Wrong
George,
nomenclature.
you were telling us the likelihood of the position of Canada in the Commonwealth.
But yeah, like I was saying before, Canada is very strongly connected to the Commonwealth, and I believe countries like Australia, Canada, and another one, might not New Zealand, might not be able to easily extricate themselves. The reason being that most of the people that are in Canada and some of these countries, they stem from England. So the foundation is so strong that it will be very difficult for them to extricate themselves from the Commonwealth. But one of the major problems that we have today, nobody is talking about Diana anymore.
Go on, go on.
Diana is one major reason why many people dislike the current king. A lot of people still believe that the way things were done, the way she was treated was not very well, and her death was very suspicious, or up until today. Many people don't like to talk about that. Many people felt like she was just basically eliminated,
Yeah,
for
she was
the
old.
for the because of what the palace represents and the kind of life she was living, and for that reason, there is elements of disdain towards the king and who the current queen is. People don't like to talk about it, but they think about it, and these are one of the things actually that will make a lot of people want to get themselves from that commonwealth and don't want to be part of it anymore.
But don't
Yes.
how about now that you have mentioned Diana, Camilla, and Charles, Meghan appeared to take the center stage. 60 million tweeters say that Meghan compacted herself and that she's the beauty of the occasion. Coming from the Americas, what will you say, George?
Well, she has been the one that what they call the she felt discriminated against. The culture did not wholesomely embrace her because she is considered black to a degree.
Yeah.
So for that reason, people are feeling that the reason why she's being treated that way was because of her origin, her black origin. And this is some of these things that make people don't look at that culture and tradition of the queen and the king and all those and say, listen, we don't think this thing fits in our generation right now. Ask any young person if they give you their true feeling about what is going on. That's the reason why when she showed herself there and was able to act in a very precise, queenly way, herself, everybody embraced her as a princess. And that's why they're loving her. Because
Yeah.
yes, they're loving her simply because she was able to comport herself. She was able to behave the way everybody would, say, oh, this is a different young lady than what we have been reading in the newspapers and everything. So I think that's what it was.
Thanks, George. Mark, the Megan really presented herself, and the people just loved her more, like George really said. Don't you think this is the time to sheath the sword? Because memoirs of Harry is still coming out in 2 weeks or so, and that may not be palatable.
Yes, we're following here. The King Charles III stretched out his hand of reconciliation and unity to the Sussex of that's Harry and Meghan. But it's hard to bypass some huts, mostly when it's very deep and when it also involves your emotions and your well-being. She was really hot, and the husband too feels it. To the extent of them saying when she gave birth, somebody said in the palace, "How black will that child be?" You know. So, well, but we hope they will also forgive. It's hard, but we look forward to one family reconciliation. But Charles has a lot of job to do. He has to find out a way of that reconciliation. It's not just stretching the hand and inviting them over. It's more than that. The British press, we know around the world, is one of the most. I mean, the British press stands for the palace. So they do anything to go against anybody that wants to go the contrary. So the British press is one way to
I, I
also
think I think King Charles did a good job by asking him to wear the uniform. when they were having the grandchildren were having the vigil. The king did it. That was a positive move, and maybe little by little he will be back into his role. Andrew has been given some roles to play to little by little. Osita, what do you make of that?
Let me say something that is peculiar to Megan.
Mm,
She is strong-willed, coming out of Hollywood, but
yeah,
her
yeah,
husband has a stronger will because
Mhm.
he sits between two women, the Princess Diane, late Princess Diane, and the Duchess of Success, who is alive.
Mhm.
There is
yeah,
nothing that the palace will do. There is nothing they will do that will make him forget the fact that he has responsibilities to make sure that that what happened to his mom does not happen to his wife, and he's strong
yeah.
about
Exactly.
it. The being strong about
Mm,
it also means that he's willing to go the whole 9 yards to
Mhm.
attract, even if it's global sympathy, but global
mm,
support, yes, for what he wants to achieve. And what he wants to
mm,
achieve is to create an opportunity for change in Buckingham.
Mhm.
Because if they don't do that, as a matter of fact, give it to Meghan because she's the one changing the entire royal, culture. Because what she's
yeah.
doing now is to stick to her guns. The husband is behind her, and the world is watching. The world is watching with interest, strong
Yes.
interest. Even the so-called existing Commonwealth countries, they are all watching.
I think the family should be indebted to Harry and Meghan because they'll be the new face of the royal family. And if they jettison them, then their future may be jeopardized. I believe
Exactly.
that they will take it easy on them. Personally, I like Meghan. I've watched a few of her films. She's elegant, she's beautiful, and she's carrying herself well. And I tell you, it's not easy to confront the royal family. Go and ask Diane Spencer. It's not easy to antagonize. This is this family is a principality. They've been there for thousands of years. You don't come overnight to face them. So for what Megan is doing, I think she needs all the help and support, especially prayer as well. But let me just before we
Yes,
go on
thank
break,
you, Doc. Sorry, I want to say something. I think that's a very good observation you're making out there, Doc.
yeah,
If the palace really understands rebranding,
mm,
Meghan and Harry are a key factor for rebranding the palace to this new generation of young people and new mind because they could play it out with them, the palace and Meghan and Harry. That's a very good observation, Doc.
yeah.
That's a very
Okay. I, I just imagine we could still take in one more item before we go on break. A new European political club called the European Political Community is about to start meeting in October, and the UK is thinking of going in there. Mark, is this another EU trying to bring in Britain or what?
yes, sir. Doc, that's the initiative of the French Prime Minister.
Macron.
What? Yes, Macron. What he's trying to do is because still the Europeans are still eyeing UK, the English people. The Europeans are still eyeing Britain because there's so much to collaborate with. So Macron came up with that idea, and Liz, the new prime minister, UK new prime minister, is running with it. So let's see how it plays out. We are watching. We are yet to see the real constitution that forms that
Yeah,
organization.
the UK Prime Minister said we're still weighing whether we should go or not. But I'm aware that the establishment wanted the United Kingdom to get out of the last European Union, and it didn't go down well with the youths. The youths did not take part in that referendum, so they're clamoring because of movement, especially, and because of intelligence distribution. So I think now that Boris Johnson is gone, now that the Queen is gone, The queen is always called the establishment, if you know what I mean. So they're trying to say now that maybe we should go back without paying the penalty. So that may be, but George in Canada, what do you think in few seconds?
If you look around the world today, we're seeing the emergence of Russia against Ukraine is intensifying, and everybody wants to belong to a strong coalition that will protect them in the very end. Europe was disintegrating to a degree because of a lot of disagreements. But what I'm seeing now is that what Macron is trying to do is to bring a coalition together, because nobody has defied what, the same way that the Russian president is defying the world right now, and it's still standing. So there is fear all over the place. So Macron is trying to gather together a group of people also that will say, hey, listen, if any one of you gets attacked, we will be behind you. All of us will come together. Because look at this right now. If the current coalitions are not able to stop Putin, something new needs to happen. And we are heading towards that direction where the man is defying everybody. He doesn't care what you say. He's bringing China in to join, plus a few others. I mean, we try to stop the economic movement of that country, but they form their own little group, and there's and their economy is getting stronger. So that is something that we have to understand. Macron, whether he will succeed to bring England, UK in, I don't know. But these are what I think they are thinking about, because people are fearing. We're thinking about nuclear war, even in Ukraine right now.
It is getting serious, because we go on break. When we return, we'll be talking about the Putin message he gave earlier this morning, because he said there's something that we need to take into consideration. We'll go on break right now. When we return, we'll be discussing more of this. And of course, from the continent of Africa, especially the largest country in Africa, Nigeria. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hi there, I'm Mary Keurig, and I am a businesswoman in the United States, but I'm also the Global Content Vice President for the Sub-Saharan Open University in Nigeria. I could not be prouder to work with Dr. Osita Anamika and his team on helping to create not just entrepreneurs and skill-based talent that will get out into the workforce and make a living for themselves, but also young leaders. And to that end, with this integrity-rich university environment that's accredited now, and it's just an amazing opportunity for anyone there of any age to jump on board and learn, we want to let you know about a new offering that we have. We have a global governance and diplomacy course now provided by a whole team of people that crosses several countries to put together these resources and lots of great information for those of you who might be on the path toward public service and diplomatic service, NGO leadership, that sort of thing. We hope that you will walk through this open door and enjoy.
When I wrote the book, The Final Solution, the Lord gave me some things in the spirit realm to see going to happen here. And that is why you need to get a copy of this book, not because of the purchase, but because of the contents. We've not spent 2 weeks. Now we have seen the problem in Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus, Donetsk, Luhansk, and all the other surrounding nations, talk less of the Western countries and the eastern countries. We want to pray that this stops where it is. Some people are even imagining a third world war. I pray that there'll be no third world war, but we need to know the solution to all of these problems, and they are well packaged in that book, The Final Solution. The amount of money is next to nothing. Go to Amazon and buy this book. Go to the Kindle, go to KDP and buy this book. It's very important. So it is in Amazon and Kindle. And of course you can purchase the paperback, but it's not about the money. It's about the contents to have solution to Ukraine, to Russia, to the West, to the East, and indeed all parts of the world. Do get a copy and let's start operating the solution of God to our time.
Schengen Story magazine is an African international bi-monthly magazine based in Milan, Italy, and founded in 2016. The publication focuses on personalities, fashion, style, entrepreneurship, and culture for Africans. Though articles on food, movies, fitness, music, travel, sports, technology, and books are also featured. Our lives full of best stories. A lot can happen in a month. Expand your mind, change your world. Get Schengen Story magazine's full editions. Celebrating Africans make an impact. Read better, the inside story. Your fashion magazine for a better lifestyle, inspiring stories for you. Your monthly dose of entertainment, a better mind keeping you updated.
Thank you for watching and staying with us. We now have to turn to what Russia is saying. Putin this morning said he has more weapons to offer, and if the West should contradict him, there might be some challenges. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Godwin Ebe from Moscow, Russia. And I've been praying that you appear because you're going to throw more light. We understand that Russia is going to conduct a referendum over the coming weekend in the areas of Ukraine, and the Western world specifically rejected the outcome of such referendum because no international um, observer will be there. The French president has said to, the NATO secretary has said to, Britain has said to, America has said to, and Putin had to say, look, if you push me, I'm going to use all my weapons. But Dr. Ibe, we've always depended on you to tell us what is going on. Please, what's going on?
Thank you all for having me. Thank you viewers for watching. I believe I'll be able to throw some light on this relevant topic today, which is not regional in nature, but global in nature. And let's start with the referendum. Yeah. Yes, there'll be referendum held in some parts of Ukraine, Zaporozhye, Kherson, Donetsk, Lugansk. Yeah, these four regions. I think there's one more region. So they will make a referendum to become part of Russia. Now, concerning international observers, what is international organization? Russia doesn't see all these international organizations as playing the role they're supposed to play in terms of being neutral or being the organization that settles problems. For example, the observation of the nuclear power plant in Ukraine. So I doubt Russia cares so much about the opinions of these organizations. It's most likely going to go ahead from the 23rd to the 27th of September, and from all indication, it looked like it will vote overwhelmingly in favor of joining Russia. Now, concerning truth be told, most people in these regions are Russian natives and Russian language speakers. So it's natural that they will want to be part of Russia. If we put all politicking aside and we just talk about the real facts on the ground from the affiliations of these people. Now, Putin
Yes,
also
but
announced
let me
something.
just stop you there. That they speak Russian and perhaps Russia ethnically does
They
not mean
usually
that
have dual citizenship.
their country has to be Ukraine has to be annexed. It doesn't have to. We have Yoruba people in Republic of Benin, and you cannot just tell them to be. We
No, no,
cannot just
it's
annex.
yeah, yeah. I'm not. That's not a decision for me to make. Speaking about international law, every region, every people have right to self-determination. If there's a referendum, they decide to be out of a country or whatever. We have Catalonia, we have Kosovo. We've had all this. They all came out of Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia. Didn't they come out based on this same democratic? You might call it real, you might call it a farce. It's your opinion, but it's not the first. It's not going to be the last. When a country, small countries and big countries play different roles, unfortunately. We have seen
Mm.
crimes in different wars, Iraq, Afghanistan. No soldier is going to protect prosecuted if they belong to a big power. So talking about international like it's the beginning or the end, it doesn't. For big powers, obviously they play by a different set of rules. Well, should it be that way? Maybe not, but it's historically based. And since these people have a right to self-determination
Okay. Let
by
me quickly
international
ask you
law,
because I want to bring in
mhm,
other, but I want to ask you. Putin
uh-huh.
early this morning promised to use many weapons and that he's got many weapons. Are we at the brink of a nuclear war, or to what extent do you think that will happen when all these referenda are rejected?
That's not even the
Sorry,
most
but
relevant
can we
news this
play?
morning.
Can we play
The
the
most
video?
relevant news
To,
this morning.
sorry, can we play a just small clip of the video of Putin making the
Uh,
declaration? Is that okay?
Okay,
Can the
in
studio
few
play?
seconds, because there are many people who want to discuss this matter.
Go ahead. The
Наша
internet
страна
is.
также располагает различными средствами поражения, а по отдельным компонентам и более современными, чем у стран НАТО. И при
Please go ahead.
угрозе территориальной целостности нашей страны для защиты России и нашего народа мы, безусловно, используем все имеющиеся в нашем распоряжении средства. Это не блеф. Граждане России могут быть уверены, территориальная целостность нашей Родины, наша независимость и свобода будут обеспечены. Подчеркну это еще раз. Всеми имеющимися у нас средствами. А те, кто пытаются шантажировать...
Okay, did you see that? He said that he will use all the weapons at his disposal. Dr. Ibe, I'm scared, not for you, but for me. Go ahead, Dr. Ibe.
He's frozen.
He's
It's
frozen.
frozen. Okay, let me quickly ask the man in Abuja, are you scared?
Yes and no. Yes, because he said it's not a bluff, and I know who the man is. We've been following him for years. As a matter of fact, the man who could not give a state burial to a late president,
To
something
Gorbachev, yeah.
yes, it's just somebody that you should be scared of. But my thinking also is that he's talking about 4 regions. He's talking about 25% of Ukraine. Will the world just sit down and watch him do that? I mean, he's actually calling for outright confrontation. That is what his intentions are. He wants people to come to him and say to him, "No, you cannot do that," and then he sets it in motion. This has been his hunger for for decades. He just has an opportunity now. Instead of mellowing, instead of using diplomacy to contain what's going on, he is still very antagonistic and ready to fight. And he's calling Russian people. How many people of Russia support this war? How many? In-house. People will tell you, no, that is a Russian thing, is a world. But this is the man that we know, the man that loads the rest of the world. Does he love Africa?
Okay.
I don't think.
Okay. Let me ask the man who is close to power in Canada, George. I know you move with the high rank and the president. What's your take on this?
Well, number one is Putin is an egomaniac. We know that for sure. And one of his hatred is what Europe and America represents. And he would do everything in his power to defy that authority, to tell the world, I am the man to look onto as the new leader of the world today. So one of the things that we have to understand, when people like that, he's trying to emulate Stalin. He's trying to emulate some of these other big guns that have done the same thing that he's trying to do now. The question we have to ask ourselves, you say, I'm afraid. Yes, indeed. We are concerned over what he might do, but there is a point and there is a place he will step into now. The world will clamor together and want to eliminate him to stop the next, what you call clearing of the world through nuclear weapons. They will not allow him to do that. And they are watching and they are meeting and they are, just making sure when he goes to that step where he wants to take right now, where he can wipe out, millions of people with one stroke of a nuclear weapon, they will try to stop him. But he's defying them. The thing is, I honestly believe his hatred for the West will push him to the brink of either destroying himself or destroying a lot of lives. But I don't think the world will allow him to do that.
Thank you, sir. Godwin, I'm glad you are back. I'm going to give you 3 more minutes because I have other issues to go to. But I must give you these 3 minutes.
Yeah. So I think I've always been for peace and cooperation between the East and the West because both add value to the world. And there can be no it's impossible to have global peace no matter how hot-headed anyone can be on any side. It's actually impossible to have global peace without agreement between the East and the West, especially between Russia and NATO. Now, peace on what terms? I believe everyone wants peace. Everyone wants peace, but on what terms? Then we begin to talk about national interest, strategic interest, and we have to respect these phenomena as well as spheres of influence and take it into picture when we negotiate this peace. Because I believe everyone wants peace, but it's about what terms this peace should be attained. Now, concerning nuclear weapons, I don't think it will get to that. Russia has a nuclear doctrine, and none of the points in that nuclear doctrine has been violated. But the news I wanted to announce today, which is more relevant, is that Putin has announced partial mobilization, which means that he can now take from reserves. What has been lacking only in Ukraine has been infantry. Russia has been sending rockets and all of that, but most of the fighting has been done by.
He has been saying that he will never do mobilization. So he has come to agree for partial mobilization.
No mobilization. There are no conscripts. There are no civilians. It's only people who serve in the military. That's military reserves. He hasn't announced total mobilization.
Russia
let me
is
finish.
treating us
3
like we
minutes
were
before.
born yesterday. We were not born yesterday. When they're having partial, who is going to supervise whether it's partial or not?
That's
Just
the
like when
question.
Nigeria was fighting.
This is not for me. I'm just telling you what has been announced and what it implies. These are not my decisions. These are not. I don't like. I'm not involved in that. I've told you what I'm for: peace, dialogue,
Go ahead.
on
You
what
have your
terms the
work on
peace
it.
will be. Yeah, so that means that there will be now more infantry, which has been lacking in Ukraine on the ground, and that means that that indicates that Putin is seeking a closure of the um, uh, as coined liberation of Donbass. It seems he wants to double down on that and finish that before winter, which is going to be some kind of strategic pause till spring, which will mean either it's resolved or it continues spring of 2023.
Will you agree that Zelensky and Ukraine have taken back a lot from Kharkiv area?
That, like I said, that was planned
You
in
said it was a
advance.
tactical withdrawal.
Yeah, it was a tactical withdrawal. It was planned in advance.
But
There
I
were
will
no
not
loss of
agree with
lives.
you.
No,
They've been
it's
saying
okay.
they
It's okay.
won.
I'm just telling what's on ground. You don't have to agree. There's no problem with that. What is on ground is that from the Russian side is that it was planned in advance. There were no loss of lives. Maybe there was a strategic overlook. Maybe it was it's a victory to Ukraine in the sense that they got some land. I'm not denying that. They are brave soldiers on either side. I'm not also denying that. So we call it exactly what it is. This is what the Russian side has announced. I'm not involved in decision making, but what I can tell you is that Putin has overwhelming majority support. His rating is close to 90%. And
Wow.
it's something, yeah, it's something that leaders in other countries can only dream of. It's not contested in the East or in the Western publications. He has very high
Okay.
approval ratings in
Okay.
Russia.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Ibe, I appreciate
Mm.
that. Mark, do we have a
Yeah,
cause to be afraid? The rest of us.
sorry. Yes, sir. But Dr. Sir George was raising up his hands. I think he has some interjection to do there.
Okay, so you differ for Mr. George. You Mr.
No,
Okay,
no,
yes, sir.
I'll come in after him. Okay.
Okay, George.
I just wanted to talk about approval rating for Putin. Public approval rating for Putin is because of the fear of the people. We know this for sure. Even locally here, when you talk to Russians, most of them openly will never agree with the war with you. You know, they consider Ukraine to be their brothers and we should not be fighting against them. But publicly, they will never agree with that. So the question is, are you going to give him a rating? Is the rating real? Or is the rating just something to make him to, look good? Because a lot of Russians are not behind him when you really think about it. This is a man that once you disagree with him, is that either you are dead or you are imprisoned. So what are you gonna do? Endanger your family and endanger your life?
I'm
Let me
just
answer.
mindful of
The
like.
question very quickly. Let me comment on that very quickly.
Okay,
Let's not.
George. Sorry. I give you
Go ahead,
Godwin.
Dr.
Yeah,
Ibe.
go ahead.
Let's not move the goalposts. Whenever it doesn't favor somebody, we always try to move. Let's not move the goalposts. There are ways of finding. In every country, they have approval rating. Nobody asks them, "Are you doing it out of fear, or are you doing it out of love, or out of kindness?" Nobody asks all those questions. The point is that on Eastern publications, on Western publications, these are his ratings. And of course, anybody who is not based in Russia is most likely going to um, um, go towards the interest of the place where he has his treasure or where he's residing in, and that is normal. We've seen this in people residing elsewhere, or have political interest or whatsoever kind of interest elsewhere. So it's normal that the Russians who are living in the United States, or who wants green card or who wants citizenship, would say the line of what the US say. But in Russia here, Russians, if you go on the street here, if you go anywhere around where I am right now and you ask 90%, you'd speak to them not on microphone. They will tell you that they are for Putin. That's
We've
fact.
had you loud and clear. We will leave it at that. I just have to ask Dr. Osita in Nigeria. We have a minister of steel who rejected extracting of lithium unless a battery manufacturing company is established. Have we woken up now?
No, the decision was ill-informed. You don't establish that as a reason for doing something else. Listen, someone can establish the mainframe and another person can come, to establish the add-ons. It depends on the kind of request they are making to the rest of the world for investment. Tesla does not have to do all of them. It doesn't have to happen that way. But the issue now is, why are we doing this when at some point Minister of Technology was talking about producing toothpicks? No, we don't have all the components of toothpicks. No, we don't have it. So are you saying that the components that we would have needed for maybe extraction, for instance, or for what's it called, structuring the entire plant, that they cannot come from mixed people? So now we are seeing.
Could it be a diplomatic statement? Because if the whole world should go hybrid or battery cars, then our oil will be useless. So it's like, don't give them lithium so that they can buy our oil for more years. I don't know. But what you are saying is bringing
we are still
more light.
making the same mistakes with oil, Dr. Johnson. The same mistakes with oil. What is oil? Oil is just now, today. Tomorrow, there will be no oil. So what are we doing? Are we going to sit on what we have that we're not using because our oil is in private pockets? Believe me,
Okay.
I knew for a fact that people in offices, including Aso Rock, were exporting oil for their private pockets because they already have
Okay.
markets in
Let me
China.
quickly ask Mark. Mark has an opinion. Mark, what's your opinion?
Yes, still aligned with Dr. Sita. I think we did that out of very irrational decision. The minister took that decision because, listen, Tesla, Elon Musk is heavy. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. Elon Musk can always go to somewhere else and source for lithium. He was only trying to offer something that could have helped our Nigerian employment. I mean, we have millions of young people walking the streets, millions of youths into armed robbery, into all these nefarious activities. And somebody is saying, come do something to keep your people engaged. And you're doing shakara, like we will say, because you're thinking of your oil. Oil, regardless of what happens now or whenever, Nigerian oil will come to a time when nobody will buy. Yes, because the world is advancing. The Western world is looking out different ways. Electric cars are becoming a new thing now. And if we don't wake up to some reality, we might just be the peacock that is shedding its beautiful wing
Okay.
in the cold.
In view of the time, let me ask our two
Yes,
other panelists. George from
Yes.
Canada, Toronto, Canada. One of these days, I'll give you a visit.
That would be
Please,
wonderful.
what's your take on this?
Well, when you look at you can't get something from somebody. I can't give you what I don't have. So some of these leaders that we have today in Nigeria, I believe they are actually they are lacking what you call wisdom when it comes to dealing with situations that affects the world. But one thing that I can tell you is this: if you come and take cocoa from Ghana and you ship it down to England and you do chocolate and you do everything and you bring back the same chocolate that you have produced from cocoa, you're selling it back to them. You come to Nigeria, you extract some of these minerals and you take it back to your own country, you reproduce it and bring it back. We will remain a consumption country.
Yes.
I believe that what this man was trying to do is actually, we lack infrastructures in Nigeria, we lack industries in Nigeria. Are you going to come and take lithium from us and then try to introduce to Nigeria electric cars when we are sitting on oil that is giving us revenue now? Give us something that can produce batteries locally so that we'll become part of that manufacturing. Rather than become a consumer country, we'll become a production country. So there is a little wisdom to what he's saying. Maybe the way it's being explained or the way he's just blatantly refusing it could become a problem. But I believe
I believe there's some truth in what you have said, but we have more people saying that was my position, that it's time we start putting our foot down. And when you look
exactly.
at the refinery, that we have not been able to refine oil in Nigeria in the past 10, 20 years because of maladministration, because of kleptocracy and all the rest. It's time we start putting our foot. But Godwin, I hope you can say something before we close on this matter.
Yes, I would like to say that it's not limited just to let's say lithium. You also have, like has been said by the other panelists, oil, and we can see, if you ask me, even me as a Nigerian now, let's assume I was in the role of Elon Musk, and you ask me to establish a factory in Nigeria, I'll ask you if you're crazy. There's no light. The cost of production is high.
Exactly.
The cost of production is high. There's no security of the workers. There's no security of the workers. I have to put kidnapping insurance for each of them, and then you want me to have there because just to show patriotism to Nigeria, for what? That is not Elon Musk's job to think for us. We have to guarantee the infrastructure that allows cost of production to be low, so that so that factories can be established in Nigeria. That's number one. Number two, the security of the items themselves. Like Tony Elumelu said, 95% of extracted oil is stolen. Adeboye himself, Pastor Adeboye said 80%, but Elumelu said 95%. These are business magnets that have access.
Let's just help Nigeria by stopping there. Let's just help Nigeria, because I have one final job. I want to thank you, Mr. Jochuku, all the way from Toronto, Canada, not sleeping at this time. I want to thank you, Dr. Godwin Ibe from Moscow and Russia. Should have been doing some other things. Our man from the capital seat of Nigeria, Abuja, Dr. Sita Nemeka, and of course, our man, Dr. Mark Godwin in Milan. It's been a pleasure. We'll be back next Wednesday when we bring you the latest. We hope we will still be alive. By that time, no nuclear weapon. Please beg them in Russia. My name is Jeffrey Johnson. Until next week, God bless you all.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everybody.